Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining me. Now today I'm doing 10 cards, 1 kit using the LFL April 2018 card kit. This kit was so fun to play with and there's tons of elements in here. So we're going to jump in and get started with our first card. Now I cut out a panel using some white cardstock. Hindsight, I think I probably should have used Bristol Smooth, but that's okay. I'm going to go in with my oxide inks. I have Wild Honey and some Squeezed Lemonade. And I'm going to create a little sunshine background, so I do that using a piece of scratch paper and just inking up the very edge of the paper. And this is going to create a real soft sunbeam effect. Now I know there's stencils out there that you could purchase to do the same thing, probably a little bit more even, but I don't have one of those, so I'm improvising here, and I think it turned out great. But adding a little bit of two-tone look by adding some Squeezed Lemonade to my little sunbeams. And that creates a nice bright and shiny panel there. Once we have that done, there's a 12 by 12 sticker sheet that came in the kit. Now I just trimmed my sticker sheet down so it's easier to handle, but I wanted to use this scallop border here. I'm going to add that to the very bottom of my panel. And then next, we're going to fill in the lines of the sunbeams with these peel-offs. Now these are probably my favorite peel-offs ever. They're a clear iridescent, and it picks up any color that you place on it. So it's really picking up the yellow, creating a real nice sunshine effect. I'm going to add that peel-offs to each one of my little beams there. And then I'm also going to use the really thin ribbon that came in the kit. And I'm going to tie a bow to the left, covering my seam where that scallop border is on the bottom. Now I'm going to take a piece of the ephemera. This is the bicycle with the cute little basket. I'm going to pop that up and place that on my panel. And then for my sentiment for this card, I thought it would be appropriate to use the little sticker here that says "Look on the bright side." I'm just going to add some foam tape behind that and place that right there. Now I'm going to flip this panel over and add some foam tape, pop it up, and then I'm going to place this on an A2 size card base. It's a white card base. I added some glossy accents to my little flowers in the basket, and that finishes off card number 1. I think that turned out so fun. Okay, now we're going to move along to card number 2. I cut out another panel here, and I wanted to do a little bit of embossing with my with the little frame die that came in the kit. I'm going to run it through 3 times, 3 in a row, to create a little bit of texture in my background. And by the time I ran the 3rd one through, the first 2 kind of flattened a little bit, but it still had a little bit of texture. So I'm just going to remove that and go through, and I'm going to run it through a couple more times, creating a nice little row to the left there. Okay. Now we're going to make a collage card for this one. So I'm grabbing a few little elements. I have this tag that came with the ephemera. I just used the sheer ribbon and tied a little bow at the top. And then I'm going to pop that up with some foam tape and place that on my little panel there. A little overhanging just a bit. I'm going to add my little envelope, which is adorable. I'm just going to use my tape runner and add some tape to the right side of this, and then I'll add a piece of foam tape to the left, and then that's going to go on my panel. This way it lays nice and even. And in the sticker sheet there was a sticker that was like a little piece of paper. I thought that would be really cute, adding that to my little scene here. I ended up putting on the inside of my envelope. I think that looked a lot nicer. Okay, there's also a little jar in the sticker sheet that has some paint brushes and pencils sticking out of it. I'm going to add some foam tape behind that and place that on my panel as well. I loved all the little stickers and elements in this kit. I mean, the sky was the limit with this. Okay, place that in the corner there. I'm going to lower it just a little bit. And then there's also a real pretty flourish. I'm going to add that to the flourish that's on that tag there. I'm just going to cover that up. Again, we're going to add a little bit of foam tape. I'm going to use my embossing buddy here. No. And I'm going to remove some of the stickiness from my sticker. Now for the sentiment for this card. I think I'm going to use the sentiment that says "So blessed." It came with a little ephemera pack. I'm going to just use my tape runner to adhere that right below my envelope. And I think that looks really pretty. Now I'm going to flip this over and add foam tape behind it. I'm going to pop it up. And then I'm going to place that on my card base. My card bases for all these cards today, I'm using white card bases. I just think the white looked really pretty with all the elements. For bells and whistles, I'm going in with the jewel drops that came in the kit, adding a few dots of color here and there. These are so pretty because when they dry with a clear, but with a little hint of blue. So I think that's going to look beautiful. Now we're going to move along to our next card. I'm going to take this pattern paper and I cut out a panel with it. Love that. And then I'm also going to take this pattern paper. I wanted the black and white stripes on there. I'm going to cut out a strip of this. And then I also cut out a strip of the pattern paper that had like little black and white, they look almost like raindrops. But I cut out a strip of that. I fishtailed both the ends, and I'm just going to layer them both together using my Nouveau Deluxe adhesive, my tape, my glue there. I'm going to flip this over and add some foam tape behind there and place that on my panel to the right. Now next there was some ephemera feathers that came in the kit with some beautiful rose gold foiling. So I wanted to use those. I'm just kind of placing them where I think they look the best. And then I'm going to use the sentiment that's in the stamp set. There's two different words. There's a U and an R, and I just stuck them together on my acrylic block. And I'm going to stamp that on my panel using my VersaFine ink. And then I'm also, in the sticker sheet, there's also two more little feathers. I'm actually going to grab those as well. I added foam tape to the very top, and then I adding some glue to the bottom and just kind of arranging my little feathers in a little cluster. Here's where I took those other two feathers. Now I ended up only using one, but we'll put the other one on the inside. Now for the rest of the sentiment, I grabbed the sticker. It actually says, "I am so very brave." I just trimmed off the "I am." So my sentiment was adjusted to say, "You are so very brave." And I think that goes really good with the feathers. I'm going to add some foam tape behind that little sentiment there and place that right below the "You are." And you can see I stuck one of the stickers on my little banners there. I tied a small bow using the sheer ribbon that came in the kit. I'm just securing down the bottom portion of my feather there. I'm going to use a glue dot and add that to the very bottom of my feathers. And then of course we're going to flip this panel over and pop it up with some foam tape. I go through a lot. I know you guys have asked a lot, but I do go through a lot of foam tape. But I just love dimension on cards. I can't help it. I'm going to add a few of the larger white sequins that came in the sequin mix. And I placed my panel on a piece of, on a white card base. And I did go in with that last feather and placed it on the inside of my card. And that finishes off card number 3. Now for card number 4, I'm taking this pattern paper here. I actually used every single bit of this pattern paper. But I'm going to trim it down, and this is going to leave me a little bit of a white border on my card base. I'm just going to take my tape runner and adhere that to my card base. Once we have that done, now I have a scalloped rectangle die for my stash. I'm going to use that on a piece of white cardstock. And then I want to create a frame, so I'm going to take a stitch rectangle die and place that on the inside, and it's going to create a real pretty frame. And I like the stitching around both edges. So once we have that done, we're going to add some stickers. I wanted to use the little mason jar that have flowers in it and the little books. I'm going to place that in the bottom corner here of my frame. And then for my sentiment, there's a little banner. The banner with a flower. It actually says, "This is me," but I'm going to build my own sentiment again. So I'm going to stick that "me" right behind the mason jar sticker, and then I'll trim off the excess that's peeking out to the right there. Okay, I think that looks really neat. Now for the rest of my sentiment, there's another sticker that says "Absolutely Fabulous." So my sentiment's going to say, "This is absolutely fabulous." I'm just going to add some foam tape behind that little sticker there and pop that up. And the neat thing too is the little books underneath the mason jar say "Happy, Amazing, Beautiful, and Strong." So I thought that would be a nice encouraging card. I'm going to add that right below my little black banner there. I'm going to adjust my little "this is" kind of was a little bit too wonky. Okay, I think that looks wonderful. Now, next I want to do, this is going to go here, but I'm going to pop that up with some foam tape. And I wanted to use this little banner that came in the sticker sheet, and I'm going to place that in the very top part of my card base there. Now you can see I added some foam tape behind my frame and all the sticker elements. That's going to go in the very center. And I did add some peel-offs around my frame. And I just don't know why my screen does that. I'm so sorry. I hope this is the only frame that does this. But I'm going in with some White Blizzard Nouveau glitter drops around my little flowers. And then I did add the peel-offs you could see around the frame there. And I think that makes a really pretty card. That's it for card number 4. Okay, now we're going to move along to card number 5. For my next card, I'm going to take that same pattern paper here, the pink pattern paper, and I cut out a little strip. Now in the sticker sheet there's some of these tags. This actually is a real pretty color. It's the same color as almost as the paper. It says "Yesterday." I'm going to add that to the very top of this pattern paper and trim it down. And then I'm going to grab the yellow pattern paper and use the yellow file tab here that says "Today." We're going to trim that down as well. And then we're going to do the same thing to the little file tab that says "Tomorrow." But I'm going to be using the blue and white polka dot pattern paper here. Okay, we have everything trimmed down. Now I cut out a panel using some white cardstock. This panel is just going to leave me a very small, well, thin border around my card base. Now I'm going to arrange my little file tabs at different levels here. And then I did take my stitched rectangle die and cut out the very bottom portion of those pattern papers. I wanted the stitch line on them, but later on I end up trimming that off anyway, so you can probably skip this step. I'm just going to cut that out. Now I cut out an oval using one of my oval dies, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says "You are appreciated" using the stamp set that came with the kit and some VersaFine ink here. Lovely. Now I'm going to actually stick that on the little pattern paper, the pink pattern paper that says "Yesterday." But I'm going to flip this panel over. I'm going to trim it. This is where I trimmed off my stitch lines. Just shortened it a little bit. But I'm going to flip my panel over and add some foam tape and secure that on my white cardstock there. Now I'm going to carefully lift up the pink file tab, kind of stuck down good. And then I added my sentiment, and now I'm going to add some foam tape behind here. And then I'll eventually place that back on my panel there. Just going to remove the backing, place that in the center there. Now in the sticker sheet, there was some butterflies. There were 3 butterflies, and actually the 3 butterflies matched my pattern papers really well. So I added 3 of them to my panel, and just to keep my little butterfly wings a little bit dimensional, I'm taking some dimensional adhesive and placing it behind my wings. I actually folded a piece of my my foam in half. That way it gives a lot of dimension. Now I'm going to place that on my card base. I did pop it up with foam tape, of course. But that completes that card. I think it turned out really fun. So my sentiment says, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, you are appreciated. I like that. Okay, now moving along to card number 6, I'm going to cut out a panel using this pattern paper. I wanted that entire floral arrangement there. I'm just going to die cut that out. And then there's another piece of pattern paper that has a flower on it. I'm actually going to adhere that directly to a white cardstock piece there. There's the flower that coordinates perfectly with my panel flower, so I'm just going to fussy cut that out. I cut around all the way to the edges, and then it matches perfectly, so I'm going to flip that over and add some foam tape behind there and place that back on my panel just to give this a little bit of dimension. I do end up cutting off 2 of the leaves. I thought it was just too much on one side. So I'm going to adhere my flower, and then I'm going to tuck my leaves under the opposite side there to give it a little bit more balance. Okay, for my sentiment for this card, I'm going to grab some of these stickers here. This one says the possibilities are endless, and then I also grabbed the sentiment that says doing amazing things. Another nice encouraging card. I like that. Now for bells and whistles, I'm going to go in with the Nouveau Jewel Drops over the center of the blue and yellow flowers, and then I'm going to go in with some Nouveau White Glitter or White Blizzard glitter drops over the center of the large flower, and I added a few dots here and there. I'm just going to place that panel on my white card base using my tape runner here. And that completes that card. I think that turned out very pretty. Okay, now we're going to move along for our next card, card number 7. I'm going to cut out a panel with this black and white gingham pattern paper. This is going to leave me about 1/4 of an inch border around my card base. I'm just going to directly adhere that to my card base right now. Once we have that done, now there's this little, this is the extra piece of the pattern paper we used earlier, so I'm just going to use that. I think that looks really neat. And then I wanted to use this ribbon here, but I didn't want to use the tassels on it, so I'm just going to trim off those little tassels. I just wanted the white part of this ribbon. Now to secure that down to my card base, I suppose what you could have did was tuck it underneath the gingham pattern paper to give it a finished look, but whenever I use my score tape, it lays really nice and it doesn't fray too bad. So I'm just going to add some score tape behind here and place that on the front of my card base. And then I can just use my scissors and trim off the excess there. Okay, for this card, we're going to make another collage card. So I'm going to add some foam tape behind my pink pattern paper there, and that's going to go right in the center. Now we're going to grab, this is a piece of the ephemera that came in the kit. I'm going to add some faux tape behind there and pop that up and place that on the very bottom of my pink pattern paper. And then for my sentiment, there's a real pretty banner that says "On a Journey." Oh no, I am going to take the die, and I actually cut out my little white frame with that die. And just using my glue, I'm going to tape that on my little panel, just to bring in a little bit of the white. And then next I'll take my little "On a Journey" sentiment. It's real pretty. It has rose gold foiling on it. And I'm going to add some foam tape behind here and pop that up. And then adding one more piece of the ephemera. This is the red butterfly, or the pinkish red butterfly. I'm going to use some glue dots and secure that right above my sentiment. And then again, I'm going to add some of the dimensional adhesive. I'm just going to fold it in half and then place it underneath the butterfly wings, just to keep them lifted up a little bit. Next, I'm going to take some of the sequins. I just wanted to use the pink ones for this card, so I'm adding it to the center of my flowers and then a few here and there on that panel. And that completes card number 7. Okay. Now, moving along to card number 8. I wanted to use this cut apart here. I'm going to take a circle die and just cut out a circle portion, removing the flowers that came on that panel. I just wanted the print, and to fill it in, I'm just using a piece of vellum from my stash. I'm going to adhere this to the piece of vellum. Okay, next I wanted to use the typewriter cut apart that came with the kit, and I'm just going to fussy cut out the typewriter. But I just didn't do that yet, did I? So kind of getting ahead of myself. But this is that pink pattern paper. I just cut out a circle border and placed that around the circle on my vellum to add a little bit of pink to there. Now here's where I cut out my typewriter, which is so neat. I'm just curling up the paper a little bit to give it some dimension. And then I'll add some foam tape behind there. Once we have that done, I'm going to place that on the bottom of my little panel. I'm going to add some foam tape behind here and lift that up. And that's going to go right in the center of my card base. And lift it up just a little bit. And then for my sentiment for this card, I chose one of the stickers that says, it just says love, joy, and happiness. I'm going to add that to the very bottom portion of my card base. It was a real soft pink. It kind of coordinated with the frame on my half circle there. Now for bells and whistles, I'm going to add some of the gold sequins that came in the mix. I'm just going to add a few here and there. And then I'm going to go in with some glossy accents over the little heart that's on my typewriter paper to give that a little bit of shimmer. And that finishes off card number 8. This was a very different card, but I really liked the outcome. I think it turned out really neat. Okay, now for card number 9. I cut out a panel using the blue and white polka dot pattern paper. I think this was one of the cut aparts. I just used the reverse side to cut out my panel. And then I'm going to go around all the edges with some of the peel-offs. This card was a very simple card, but it was very sparkly. I really liked it. Okay, now I'm going to take this cut apart with the little cake on it, and it says Tasting the Sweet Life. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the peel-offs. Just go around the border of each of those. I did trim down my cut apart to make it a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to add a piece of this gingham scallop border edge here. I ended up lifting up my peel off and tucking it under and then trimming it down. Now I'm going to directly adhere that to my white card base. And I did pop up my little cake with foam tape and place that in the center of my panel. Now for bells and whistles, I'm going to use the ribbon, the leftover ribbon that came in the kit. I doubled it up. I'm going to tie a bow and place that on my cake pedestal there. And then I do go in, the white Blizzard Nouveau crystal drops match perfect. So I went around the little flowers on my cake with that. And that finishes off card number 9. Now for my final card today, I'm going to take a rounded rectangle die here, and then a circle die, and I'm going to cut out a window inside my little panel here. Now once we have that done, you can see I kind of made it a little bit lower. I want to create a real thin frame around my little window there. So I'm using the pearlescent cardstock that came in the kit, creating a small thin frame. Now originally I wasn't going to do a shaker card with this card, so I did it kind of odd. So what I ended up doing was flipping this panel over and adding foam tape behind it. And then I decided, well, I want to make a shaker card with it, so I'm just going to take a piece of acetate and cover up that foam tape. So here I was just debating I really wanted to make the shaker card. I think the sequins went really well with that yellow pattern paper. So I added my acetate. Now I'm going to take some more foam tape and go around my window. So this is, my foam tape's not that thick, and normally you would actually double it up to create your shaker. So I wasn't too worried about the thickness of my shaker. But here's where I wanted to fill in that entire window with all the sequins that I had left. It was such a beautiful sequin mix, and I thought I'm going to use it. I really liked it, especially against that yellow pattern paper. Now I just filled in my window, and then I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock and place it on the back. So I still have my shaker window, but I have like a little bit of a valley in that window area. It's actually kind of a neat effect. Okay, now I have my card base here. Before I secure my panel down, I'm going to add a piece of the black ribbon that came with the kit. I'm using a glue dot to secure it to the very bottom portion of my window. I'll flip it around the back and just use the foam tape to stick that down. And then I'm going to add my tape runner behind there and stick that directly on my card base. Lovely. Now I'm going to take some more of that ribbon. I'm going to double it up and create a larger bow with that ribbon. And then again, using a glue dot, I'm just going to secure it on the very top portion of my little window. It kind of looks like an ornament, but I really like the way this card turned out. I did trim off the tails of my bow there. Now I'm going to grab the little birdie that's in the sticker sheet. It's a real pretty little yellow birdie. And a sentiment. Now the sentiment that I grabbed for this card says, "Be the sunshine." So I'm going to add some dimensional adhesive behind my little birdie and place that in the center of my window, my shaker window there. And it actually sits the same level as my panel, and I thought, well, that's a pretty neat effect. Okay, now I'm going to add some foam tape behind the sentiment and place that right below the birdie, right in the center. And boy, now I have road construction going on out here on the street, and then that with the rooster, and then now a train. You get to hear it all today. Sorry about that. But here's a quick look at all 10 cards that I made using the Love from Lizi April 2018 card kit. I had tons and tons left over, guys. So I hope this gives you some ideas on how to use this kit. I'll leave links below to where you can check out the card kit subscriptions. I do believe that this kit has sold out, guys. I'm sorry about that. This is more for inspiration. But check it out below in the description area. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. I had a blast with this kit. This is my kind of kit with the ephemera and the stickers and the flowers. I guess it's just a real a feminine kit, and I really had fun creating these 10 cards. I hope you did too. I wish you a fantastic day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.